Fellas, welcome back. Welcome back to the channel. Ern here. I buy, sell, trade, collect, vend. And if you're wondering, yes, I am wearing a Spy Family shirt. Welcome back to the channel. I just got done buying at the... Oh my god, this car sounds like a ghost ship. Can you hear that creaking? Tuesday we're getting it serviced. I just got done from the Fairfield Card Show at Salamathon Town Center in Fairfield, California. Not that busy today. Well, it picked up a bit, but I would say less busy than normal and about 30 to 40% less tables. So, I don't know. Market cooling down. Sorry, I had Panda Express. Market cooling down, maybe? Or perhaps too much saturation in events. I know there's another event in San Jose. There's also the event Front Row Card Show in San Diego. I know a lot of vendors went there. And so, this event was pretty good for a buyer because I could take my time. It wasn't too crowded. I was able to kind of just, go back and forth, take my time, walk with my hands behind my back and just peruse. And that's a good experience. But you can just take your time and kind of go through what you want, decide what to buy, when to buy it. So what I usually do in those kind of circumstances is I'll go through real slow, methodical. I'll do all the edges and then I'll go on the inside. Or I'll do the edges and then inside and go back and forth and just see who's there, who's got what. Typically when I go through to a show and I go through that slowly, I'm looking right away for gradables. Because if you are going there early, going there first, there's a good chance that a lot of it hasn't been picked through. Granted, I went on Sunday, so maybe that's not actually true. But that's what I typically do. Is go through, trying to find near mint, gradable cards, things that I think are underpriced or priced just right. If I can't find them, I'll look at slabs, sealed, and that kind of thing. So today was pretty good. Let's talk about my haul. I came with the intention, by the way, of selling a bunch of my slabs. So I mentioned in the previous video, maybe it's 2 videos ago, one of the videos, you've seen it by now, where I am essentially just downsizing as much as I can, hoarding cash, getting as much money as possible. And in lieu of that, if I can't get cash, I will trade my slabs for sealed. Sealed, I've had this belief that has helped me out so far. Sealed is a fantastic store of value. There hasn't been a sealed crash really since I've been back in the hobby. Actually, it depends how you define crash. The start of Scarlet and Violet boxes being cheap wasn't really a crash. I've not experienced a true crash in this market in Pokemon since I've been back in 5 years. I believe the last crash I heard about was like 2018, 2017. And so my goal, as stated before, I'm trying to get as liquid as possible, raise as much capital as possible. If I can't sell my slabs, which the slab market, it's harder to sell slabs consistently than it is to sell sealed. And also, sealed does not fluctuate that much, if at all, in price. Slabs fluctuate all the time. Right now, there's a heavy consolidation, it feels like, from Ultramodern. So basically Scarlet and Violet, some Sword and Shield, to X and Y and Sun and Moon. At least that's from what I see. A lot more emphasis on tag teams, a lot more emphasis on EXs, GXs, those sorts of cards. So, with that said, I brought a handful of slabs that were pretty good. One of the cards that I had was Gengar EX from Phantom Gate. You would also know of it in English as the Phantom Forces Gengar. This card it popped off to another level in the last few months. There's a last sold at 3,000, best offer accepted. There's a last sold at like 2,400 and 2,200, I think. This in English, this card's going for a bit more, but in Japanese, it's seen a meteoric rise, or is it meteoric downfall? I guess that would be downfall. Anyway, it's grown rapidly, and this video I want to talk about demand does not infinitely scale, cutting your losses, and knowing when to get out. And these are all related in some sort of way, right? Right? As we talk about, like, how do you grow your collection, grow your business, grow the hobby? And I think when you're new, you really get fixated on this is the last sold, this is what I should be getting, if not more. And until you get the repetitions on selling, you start to realize that liquidity is like this. Let's use a gaming reference. It's a temporary buff, right? It's something that comes, goes, stays stagnant, and sometimes it's not always available. And so when you're looking at stuff that's grown in value rapidly, right? The first thing you have to keep in mind is that a repeatable way? Is that a repeatable market price? And the more liquid something is, the more sales volume it is, right? The likelihood of it just dropping off and people not paying the same price is very, very low. But when you're talking about a card like the Phantom Gate Gengar, which is a lower pop card, it's Japanese, it's likely going up because Phantom Forces in English is going up, right? Cards like that, I think, for a long time, I personally think they were undervalued. But the challenge in that is all it takes is a couple of sales to not be the most recent ones in order for the price to tank. And, I've learned time and time again that once you hit margin goals, percentage goals, that's when you have to start thinking about, okay, do I really want this thing or not? And I think when you're new, all you can fixate on is like, how much more can I get for this? And, I've actually a pretty strong belief that this card is probably undervalued up to like 4,000. Why do I say that? I think there's a lot of cards in XY that right now are kind of in this weird. They were underpriced for a long time. They were sub 1,000, sub 500, and now they're finally getting the appreciation that they deserve. But here's the thing: demand, price, these things do not always go up. They don't go up infinitely. They don't go up forever. They hit certain plateaus and they peak, or they go back down. And it's a lesson I've learned time and time again to understand if I really am trying to like grow and roll profits, I have to be okay with a departure point with whatever it is, sealed, singles, slabs. But if I'm fixated on like, oh, this is undervalued. Oh, this is undervalued. Oh, I can get more. The deliberation in itself is what kills you because you never actually decide to make the move. And as a result, you never actually end up, oh my God, behind like two motorhomes. You never actually end up making the sale or being liquid. So this Phantom Gate Gengar, one sales point, 3,000. I would say that's like pretty good. I think it can go up to 4. It's a great looking card, low pop. 2 sales points in the 2,000s, in the lower 2,000s. It is kind of a risk if I wanted to keep it and just see what the next sales point is. Because this card I got when it was valued at $700 or $800, and that was 6 months ago. You feel me? 6 months ago, 700 to 800, it basically is 4x. That does not happen often. And when it does, in this type of market, you have people consolidating heavily into this era, but also you get people who are, I'm going to say it, they're trying to pump a lot of the old stuff that they have in order to elevate old price points and create a new price memory for some of these older cards. It's market manipulation. It is what it is. I'm not going to talk about it more, but it happens. It happens a lot with older stuff. And whether you believe in it or not, the price now is $3,000. I'm not saying it was manipulated to 3,000, but I am saying there are people who are very invested in making sure that it goes for more than $800. So that said, I got rid of it to a good friend, Cold Lake Collectibles, Kevin. I was fine. He didn't want to pay more than 25, and so I just decided, you know what, I'll do 25 in value in cash. So I got a Fusion, Brilliant, and Astral, and then cash on top for this card. And yeah, this is a card that again I got it in at like $800 value. So a little over 3x my money on it, and I'm totally fine with that. But the key thing for me was that I wasn't able to find someone at the show willing to pay more than 2,000. And this is the dilemma that you get into when you get cards that are more expensive, that have appreciated rapidly, that don't have tons of sales volume. The buyer pool is way smaller than you think. And if you're always looking up and trying to figure out like how do I get more money for something, and you don't have an exit plan or strategy, you can get really infatuated with like the price and value of things, but not actually have a way to realize that profit. And I would say this is cutting my losses because I didn't really lose, but this is definitely an example of like, hey, I got to know when to walk away because the gravy train, the gravy train, the gravy train ain't going to keep pouring. The train is going to stop. It's a game of musical chairs. And it's hard to hear that now because we're in a bull market. Everyone's going crazy. But I promise you, there will be a point where there's specific cards, singles, sealed, that when you're newer, you're going to look at it and be like, oh, I should go get that thing. I should go get that thing because it's selling for a lot. There'll be a point, though, when it'll stop. The price will decline. Market price goes down. Maybe there's abundance that hits the market. And I have a good example of that. You got to be ready and prepared to exit when you are disciplined, when you understand the discipline and you are comfortable enough with the amount that you gain from each thing that you're trying to sell. I'll give another example. Charizard EX XY 121 Generations Red and Blue Collection promo. It's a mouthful, but bear with me. This card came in a collection box that is now worth like $600-$700 for the 20th anniversary. And it's an amazing looking full art, right? Right now, this card is currently in auction as of today for more than $4,200. The last sold was $2,350, purchased by my friend Tilo Collects. And so that's the last sold data point. Prior to that, last year, this card was not selling for more than $1,000. Okay. So last year, less than 1,000. Recent sold 2.3. Recent sold, I should say, very specifically. Recent sold, not sold. 2.3. Ongoing auction 4.2. And then when you go look at what's available, there's been 4 listings for this card that is now at 4.2, 4.3. So there are people looking to dump this card, right? There are people who see the market and who knows what happens to the auction. Maybe it goes unpaid for. Maybe it won't. We won't know for at least a week, even though the auction ends tomorrow, because the auction's with Probstein, and they obviously are not going to relist until the buyer doesn't pay, and so that could take a week. This is my take. I think this auction is real. I think this auction will get paid for, and I'm basing that on the Pikachu EX XY 122, 124. Also from the same set of promos, that had a recent sold of like $6,500 and paid for. Okay. It's far less, it's far more popular, harder to find, but bear with me. I think this Charizard is going to sell. And I think it's going to sell for over 4,200. And once it does, I am fairly confident you're going to see a bunch hit the market for above 4K. I don't, though, in the future think very many are going to sell for over that amount. But I do think that it's going to sell for north of the 2,300. So I'm highlighting this because if you have this card, by the way, I have this card. I bought it for $500, 4 years ago. I think I bought it I won in an auction from someone, I forget. I've been holding on to this card for a while with the intention to sell it next year, which would have been 5 years holding. There are many people like me. Let me just throw that out there. Many people like me who have this card who, if you offered $4,000, we would gladly take it. We would gladly take it. And it's because I would have 6.5x my money on this car if the current market price is that amount. So I'm calling this out because when we look at today's market, there are many XY cinnamon cards that are skyrocketing in price. Maybe it's foul play, manipulation. Maybe it's true collectors. Sorry, my camera thing's doing this thing again. Maybe it's people who just have a lot of money trying to get in. Maybe it's crypto people trying to move money over. It's probably a mixture of all, right? But if you're on the outside looking in and you don't hold this card and you're just really astonished at the price and the market and what people are paying, this is a good example of the people who are holding, like myself and other people. These are the opportunities that we are looking for. I wouldn't say to dump on the market, but I would say like, this is why I bought it 4 or 5 years ago. Fundamentals are good. Significance is there. Beautiful looking card. PSA 10, $500 paid. This is the exact scenario that people like me and people even who got it for cheaper are waiting for. Our cost basis is relatively low. I mean, $500 is a lot, but bear with me. It's these times in the market that I want to frame this appropriately. We are chomping at the bit. That's probably a good way of putting it. To sell when people are this hyped about a card like that. And I have heard stories that there are specific sellers and collectors, even before I got this card. People who hold dozens of copies, who opened up a bunch of generations, graded however many, and got a handful of 10s. So I highlight this as part of this video because the hysteria and the hype and the demand, it is all real, right? But for you as a consumer, new collector, new investor, whatever you want to call it, it's not being taken advantage of. I would say you're the ones that are feeding into and giving us, people who have been here for a while, opportunity. Right? And I think for me, I'm at the point now, let's raise a bunch of capital and let's see what happens. The market is so freaking, I need some Diet Coke. My throat is parched. The market is so ridiculously hot. But what you need to keep in mind is it will not last forever. It is impossible. Based on how much money do consumers have to buy the latest and greatest set? How much money do people have to buy, XY era Sun and Moon cards? Eventually, people run out of money. And, what triggered this video for me? There's a guy I watch, Neo's Cards and Comics. I love watching Neo because he is not a core Pokemon person. He's a sports card person. And very well thought out videos, very informative, very just like, here's what I see as a guy who's trying to dabble in Pokemon, dabble in sports. He made a video today talking about Prismatic seems to be slowing down. And here's what he sees. And as I'm watching this video and hearing it, right, he mentioned he went to a big show locally. There's SPCs, so super premium collections everywhere, the Prismatic ones. Price between like $210 and $230, whatever. I saw the same thing at the show I just went to. He saw Prismatic ETBs everywhere, priced at like 105 or 120, whatever he said. I also saw the same thing. Prismatic singles everywhere. I saw the same thing. And so you start to see a lot of the repetition and the common stuff, like things that are highly desired, were highly desired, And now everyone has them for sale. Sounds kind of spooky. As he's walking through this video and talking about what he sees, and then he goes to TCG Player and talks about how the market's kind of slowing down on Prismatic. Keep in mind, Destined Rivals is coming. And there's a 99.9% chance that the people who buy Prismatic buying Destined Rivals, right? So there's a point where the demand, I wouldn't say is making a complete shift, but it gets split and you start to prioritize something new, something different. And if you're jumping in and you think everything is going to go up and you're trying to make money, right? This is where the idea that demand and liquidity and price do not infinitely scale. Because if the hobby does not grow, meaning there's more money from consumers, so the average consumer spending more money, and there's more consumers coming in, then you can't reasonably expect Prismatic to keep up with Destined Rivals, to keep up with Black and White, to keep up with Mega X, Mega Y, to keep up with whatever the sets that come, right? I think this is where, for me, taking a step back and cashing in and just seeing how this plays out, that's why I'm deciding to do what I'm doing. Selling all the seal, as much of the seal as I can, starting my Sun and Moon. Then I'll go through Sword Shield, accumulating cash, selling my graded cards. If I can't sell the graded cards, then I'll get sealed gladly. The opportunity to continue to I think the idea that your dollar can go far, it will go far when the market gets more saturated and there's more inventory that comes. And when demand slows down, market price will reflect that. It's not happening yet, per se, but I can tell you, for this show I just went to, maybe I'm just like so past that point. But the aura of the hobby, for me, I can tell. It's not how it was 1 month ago, 2 months ago, 3 months ago. And maybe that's because people were just waiting for Destined Rivals, and we'll see what happens what happens after that, right? But keep in mind, when you're a seller, whether it's 6 figures, 5 figures, 4 figures, whatever, of inventory, right? And you're not constantly churning through it and selling it to be ready for the next opportunity, you are taking on more and more and more risk if the market turns. I'm not saying it's going to crash. I'm just saying the flavor of the month could change, right? And the longer you take to decide to sell through things, you're taking on a lot more risk that the things that you have are going to depreciate value or become a lot less liquid. And, I think the one of the biggest challenges that you'll have is holding on to things that were really, really hot and not knowing why you're holding on to them. Holding on to the Sunbriar and you're not a collector. You're just holding it because the market's hot. You think it's going to go up. That is a death sentence for your business, for your collection investment, whatever you want to call it, right? Because there's just so much of the stuff that's being printed. And, there's a saying, don't be the one left caught holding the bag. That means the last person out typically is the one who gets wrecked. So there's no better time to ask yourself, why do I want this? Whatever it is. Can I wait? Can I buy in when things cool down? Can I buy things when maybe things are still going crazy, but at least if I wait 2-3 months, I'm confident that I'm buying into something that actually feels good, right? You don't have to buy in because it's the latest and greatest or because it's whatever it is. Like I mentioned this in a previous video and I'll say it again. It is way better to buy when you have the most confidence and feel good about the purchase than it is to try to buy at the lowest price. And people get that twisted so many times. oh, you got to buy it right away because it's going to go up. It's like, not everything goes up linearly. Not everything goes up, right? But until you really have been through a crazy bull market that slows down, you don't really understand that, like, sometimes you're going to get a big fat L in the chin because you held something that was too hot that maybe you could have purchased or bought or traded into at a later point in time. Anyway, so let's go back to the show. I'm thirsty. I have Panda. They have Diet Coke. I don't know if I like Diet Coke more than Coke Zero. I saw a lot of prismatic. I actually saw, believe it or not, I saw a lot more sun and moon than I thought. DXs, tag teams, rainbows, and I'm not sure what that's indicative of. Is it because those are going, those are more exciting now? The demand's up on them because they're aged, so people are sourcing more, selling more collection. It's different than the show I went to 6 weeks ago, where I sourced a bunch of GXs that I couldn't find in, in great condition historically. I saw a lot of the same alt arts you would expect. Gengar, Leafeon, and Espeon, and Umbreon, like the same stuff that you would typically see. I was able to get one Japanese Mewtwo V, Pokemon Go, PSA 10. One English, Raw Near Mint, probably 10. I got a Rayquaza, CGC 10, Poncho, Shiny Ray. This is going to be a crack at its end. Hopefully I get a PSA 10. If not, I will have lost. I traded in paid cash, so I think I traded my Gengar VMAX, Wailord, Magikarp, GX, Tag Bolt, so team up, PSA 10, and then 2,000 cash. So all in all, I cash traded about 3,800. I wanted to be at 35. But if I crack this thing and I grade it, and then I pay the 300 if it gets a 10, then I'll make about $2,000 on it. So, shout out to Killa, a good friend of mine. We went back and forth for like 10 minutes on this. It's a gamble, but it's a risk I can take, and I have some experience with cracking. So let's see how it pans out. I bought one super premium collection. I got it in cash and trade. I think the total value is like $200. I want to open it. I like to enjoy the hobby every now and then. This is something I haven't opened yet. To be honest, of all the modern things that are out, I'm going to keep a close eye on the print run of this stuff and how readily available it is. But I think this is a great product. I mean, it's like 200. You could probably get for 200 cash, but I paid about that. It's going for like 220 market. The packs, the promo, the pouch, and this premium collection is actually a little bit smaller than most, just 10. So I want to open mine. I do see myself in the future buying, I don't know, 10, 20, 30 to hold. I think it's a great product. Prismatic obviously is doing just fine. Might be slowing down, but it's doing just fine. Why is this guy on my butt? Please do not tailgate. I never understand that. Why do people tailgate? Like, it is the most dangerous thing you can do. And unless, like, it's not telling me anything. Like, what do you want? I'm not even in the speed lane. I got 2 boxes of Astral, 1 Brilliant, 1 Fusion in the trade. I paid $370 for one of the Astral boxes. And then I sold a decent amount. Sorry to say, I sold my Gyarados from Japanese Skyridge at a PSA 10. Sold my Lugia from Plasma Gale, which is a Plasma Storm, at a PSA 10. And then obviously I got rid of the Gengar EX from Phantom Forces, Japanese. And then I got rid of some other, Crown Z in the PSA 10s. got rid of them at like 80%. You know, that's kind of stuff that I can probably consign or sell myself and get closer to 85, 90. But you know, it's let's go on a mini rant. A lot of small stuff adds up. And when you have a ton of slabs, ton of singles, you have to really value over time. Like, what is the value of your time? Do you want to go through singles, raw cards, slabs, and sell each and every one? Or do you want someone to just sell or to buy and pay you a fraction of a percentage of market price? And this is the kind of trade-off you got to make is, but only when you understand what's the value, what's your time worth? It's not a simple question, right? Because I think when you're starting out, you want to get involved, you want to just accumulate, you want to sell. And, you know, one of the things I really like doing as a vendor is making binders. But making binders, if you've done it before, takes a lot of time. And for the efforts in the organization and just the upkeep, it's like not worth it. I mean, for me, it's not worth it, right? You know, I was at the show and there's a vendor there that I wanted to buy this Japanese Japanese Neo card. Neo? Something else. It was like a $600 card. Maybe it was a gold star. I forget. So he was busy. I came back 30 minutes later, still busy. And I was, you know, eavesdropping, like, what is he busy? He was processing like 100 plus cards that were between $1 and $2. Okay. And I was shocked because his display case and some of his binders had like, you know, display case had like cards that are worth 4 figures, 3 figures, binders, you know, double digits, mainly. And here he is spending 30 minutes to an hour processing a bunch of cards that are a couple bucks. Now, to each their own. But what I'm trying to highlight is like, I am a buyer. I was a buyer for a card sub 600 bucks. Couldn't get his attention. He was busy. If that's something you enjoy, that's how you want to run your business, and you know, you're making money from it, that's fine. But what I can tell you is everyone's time, the unit of time is the same. So processing 100 cards, whether it's for me, for you, for this vendor, that vendor, it's the same amount of time. And so I think when you're getting in, you're like selling, you want to do it all. You want to sell everything. You want to do binders. You want to please everyone, get all types of customers. In my experience, if you're trying to grow things rapidly and maybe take this somewhat seriously and like maybe closer to full time, you have to eliminate as much of the processes that are not, dare I say it, lucrative enough or worthy enough of your time. Because the same unit of time, it takes the same unit of time to process a $1 card than there's a $100 card, right? It's the same thing. It doesn't matter how big or small a card is. Typically, the same amount of time is required. And what I would recommend, I eventually, by the way, got to talk to the guy, and the card wasn't in good shape, so that kind of wasted my time. But like, it is what it is. What I would recommend if you're like trying to jump and in this day and age, there's so many vendors now. People, I see a lot of new faces. Your goal should be to carefully balance what you like to sell, right? And how do you grow your dollar, minimum valued item that you sell? Now, some people like doing binders. I get it. I would still do it if I had the time. But I think until you figure that out, you're going to have a crazy hodgepodge of inventory from graded cards, single cards, high-end slabs, low-end slabs. And part of that, if you're trying to take this seriously, you start to attract all types of customers. And this sounds harsh, but this is from my experience. When you attract everyone, you attract no one. You only have so much space at these shows, 6-foot table, 8-foot table, right? And when you have people crowding your table to look through binders, look through slabs, like, it's going to be this same transaction, just with a different buyer who wants something different. And so your real estate, your table, what you said to sell, the only thing that I would say really matters over time is like, well, what dollar amount do you want to play in? And again, some people like to do, something for everyone. That's fine. But if you do that, then you should expect that it's going to be really hard to make space for the whales when they come, or you're going to have too many people who want to buy, onesie twosies or $5 cards. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're trying to grow, actually, someone that I watch, Jar Chomp Collectibles, you'll have definitely watched them. I'm fascinated in his videos, how much variety he has from all ends of the spectrum, from like sealed to singles to low end, the high end to slabs. That's fascinating to me because I could not imagine being able to do the same thing. It's just, even as a one-person shop, it would be way too chaotic, way too much going on, and honestly, way too much to keep track of. So, anyway, this video has been a hodgepodge of things, as they always are. Knowing when to get out. That's the most important takeaway. These things do not go on forever. It's not me being a Debbie Downer. That's me saying, there's no wrong time to take profits. There's no wrong time to get in. There's no wrong time to get out. And be careful when you're getting in. So that's it from me. Hope you all enjoyed this video. Have a great Sunday. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe on the first video on this channel. Destined Rivals Booster Box giveaway. I'm excited. I'm going to rip that set. I'm going to give one away. All you got to do, go to the first video, do what I said. And that's basically it. So y'all have a great Sunday. Hope you like my shirt. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.